Okay. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Test, test. Hello, Elodie. Thank you very much for joining. Can you hear me now? I have a little sound. Okay, it appears that everyone can hear me now. We are, I am really sorry. We are unsure. We are unsure as to why these issues occur. Sometimes when I start the lesson, the video works perfectly fine, but the microphone has a lot of problems. Again, during the confinement, it's difficult to consult our, our, our colleagues who are much better at computers than me. But anyway, let's start. I apologize again. So, let's get straight into the lesson on home vocabulary. We talk a lot about business, we talk a lot about vocabulary and grammar, but now I think this kind of vocabulary is important perhaps for you personally. I noticed that many of our students have moved to new apartments recently, and I think even though you might not use it soon, it's really important to know this kind of vocabulary. So today I've structured this lesson so we have loads of interesting questions and it's really enjoyable for everyone. So let's begin. So we're going to start off by talking about different rooms. And I'm going to give you a description of the room. Then I would like you to write down which room you think it is. So, what room do you normally cook in? What room do you normally cook in? So today I'm going to be asking lots of questions. I want you all to try and practice writing and practice your English ability on the chat. Of course, unfortunately, I'm not able to hear you, but if you could try and write as many sentences, that would be excellent. So perfect. Elodie has written here the kitchen, the cuisine in French. My next question is, what things can be found in the kitchen? Can you try and make a small list of some items in your kitchen? Hopefully, if everyone writes down 3 or 4 items, we can learn some new items. Perhaps there are some words that we didn't know before. So if we all contribute together and we learn something new, that would be fantastic. So we're talking about the kitchen and we're talking about what items are in your kitchen. So Elodie has written here fridge and oven. Those are the two main things. And Elodie's also written here many things, and you're absolutely right. We have a lot of utensils, okay? So utensils is a word we use to describe a tool which we use for cooking. We often refer to them as a cooking utensil. A cooking utensil could be a knife, a fork, a spoon, a grinder. Okay, there are many different utensils in the kitchen, but the main vocabulary words, what can you think of? And it's interesting to see what you all come up with. So we have fridge, frigo in French. So obviously a fridge is really important to keep everything fresh, keep everything cold and fresh. So we often put meats and vegetables in the fridge. An oven. So this an oven is where you cook your meals. Dans le four in French, I believe it is. So an oven is used for baking and for many different meals in English. Virginie has a table. That's a fantastic contribution. I normally eat in my kitchen. In fact, our apartment in Paris is so small. Our kitchen is essentially a bedroom, a living room, a dining room. I think in our very small apartment in Paris, we have every room in one. But fantastic. A lot of people have tables in their kitchen, and it's often where they eat. Just as another piece of information, when you normally have guests over, you might have another room in your house. This is called the dining room, and this is where you will normally have your main meals. And if you have guests over, it would be more likely that you eat in the dining room, the salle à manger in French. So let's have a look at some other items. Of course, if you have a table, you need a chair or more than one. Elodie has written down fork, knives and spoons, glasses, of course, all these essential items for eating in your kitchen. Also, a plate is very important, an assiette, a pan. So, a pan is like a casserole, it's what we cook our things in. A micron, a microwave, fantastic, Christelle, a mug. I can see that you all have a really good vocabulary in relation to the kitchen. My next question is, what verbs, what actions can you do in your cooking? So, in your kitchen, sorry. So, cooking is an obvious verb. What else can you think of? What else can you think of for an action in the kitchen? So, Elodie also lived in a very small apartment, so you understand the environment that I am in right now. Hopefully, I'll be able to move into a lovely apartment like yours, Elodie, someday. So, hello, Delphine. It's nice to have you in the lesson today. And it's don't worry about being late. You can always watch the lesson afterwards. And I hope your children's sister is okay. Your sister's child is okay. So fantastic, Virginie. Wash. Of course, it's one of the tasks that I really do not like to do, but it's very important. We need to wash our dishes, laver. We have cook, cut, peel, important verbs there for the actual cooking. And now Veronique, that's an amazing verb there. It's one of my favorites. I love baking cakes, cookies. I have a sweet tooth, which means that I love sugar. Mixing, fantastic page. When you bake, it's often a requirement to mix all the ingredients together. Fantastic, Christelle, to fry, melt, slice. Okay, let's move on from the kitchen, but thank you very much for your contributions. They're fantastic. So, my next question is, I'm going to make a uh, small question for you, okay? You need to unscramble the letters, okay? So please bear with me while I write it down. So what I've done here is I've taken a room in the house and I've mixed all the letters here. So for those of you who are watching the video in the future and you can't see the chat, the letters are D, O, E, O, M, R, B. So you need to reorganize these letters to make a room in the house. So Elodie is always the first student to respond. I think she has a very good internet connection. So of course, the bedroom. So my same question as I had for the kitchen applies to this. What items or verbs would you do in the bedroom? So for those of you who find this quite simple and you know these verbs, if you use them in sentences, then perhaps you might not know how to use them correctly. So perhaps you can write a sentence for me, or you can just write down as many verbs and items as you can. So of course, sleeping. That's the first one that comes to mind when you think about the bedroom. Sleep. To dream is an excellent verb too. So dream is rev when you have images or in your mind when you sleep. Yeah, read. Fantastic. So it's very common for people to read in bed. I love reading in bed, and it's a really nice, comfortable place to do it. And it helps to relax me before I sleep. An excellent suggestion, Ellen. Yeah, to put your clothes on. We have a phrasal verb there to put on your clothes, to wear your clothes. An excellent suggestion, Christelle. Yeah, and working in the confinement. Some people have desks in their room, so it's easy for them to work in that environment. So we have really good suggestions here, and I would advise all of you to just read through the different comments because we have some really interesting suggestions, and hopefully you can learn something new by reading through the comments here. I have another jumbled up word. So, what room is this? Okay, I apologize. It's difficult to type. It's okay. Okay, that's correct. So, I've mixed up another word here, and I chose this word purposefully because it's quite difficult. And sometimes it's not in the textbook, but I think most houses might have these. Perhaps not an apartment, but houses most certainly have these. I can see you're not that fast. Oh, okay, fantastic, Paige. I thought that was going to be very difficult and no one would get it, but Paige has guessed the answer. So if you unscramble the words, we have landing. And the landing is an area at the top of the staircase which leads to the other rooms in the house. So landing is the correct word there. So the landing is more of an open space. Sometimes we have a small table, sometimes we have some pictures on the wall. There's not too much on the landing. We normally just pass through the landing. So my next question is I'm going to ask you to translate these items to me from French to English. Now, this means that I have to speak French, so I'm sorry for my pronunciation and I'm sorry for the errors that I make. I'm a student too, and I'm practicing right now. But the word I would like you to try and translate for me is tapis. 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 What is tapis in English? Hmm. A carpet. So fantastic, Alina. A tapis is the word in English, the translation is carpet. And in your house, we often have carpets in many different rooms, if not in every single room. So it's that soft material which goes on the floor in different rooms in your house. It does depend on what house you live in. I know some houses that don't have any carpets at all. So the next word is ridiu. I am very sorry about my French again. Ridiu. Hopefully you see the funny side and you can see it in the chat as well. So ridiu, what is that in English? So I'll give you a couple of seconds to think of an answer. Okay, so fantastic. So Ania and Elodie have written down curtains, and the curtains are found in essentially every single room. It's really important to have light in every single room, and it's really nice to have natural light from outside. So in every house, we all have windows. Sometimes we don't want the natural light to come in because, as we said before, we might be sleeping or we might be dreaming. So we use curtains to block the light from coming in from the window, the fenêtre. I've noticed that some students have written down store, and I remember from my school days that I believe this can also mean store. But in reference to the home, we often we would say curtain. We're referring to the curtain. So this word here, I noticed that there are a lot of mistakes normally when I talk about this with different students. So armoire, what is this in English? What is an armoire in English? Okay, what is found inside the armoire? What do you use your armoire for? So fantastic. It's really nice to see everyone contributing and writing things down in the chat, sorry. So you're exactly right. It's a wardrobe. This is my wardrobe here, and inside I have all my clothes. I have my coats, I have my jeans, I have my trousers, my underwear, everything that I need. It's in my wardrobe. So, I have a question about another room in the house. The reason why I'm asking the question like this, what is an attic, is because I don't think this is a very common room, and some of you may not be familiar with this word. So, what is an attic? What do you think an attic is? What is in the attic? Okay, fantastic, Virginie. You've guessed the words or you've translated it into French. But what do we use an attic for? What is inside your attic? What do you think you put inside your attic? I'll just give you a couple more seconds and then I can give you my answer. Okay, so an attic is a grenier, and just as Elodie has written here now, we use it to store old items. So I think store is the best verb to use here. Keep is also a good verb to use, but perhaps store could be more related to the attic. But you're exactly right. For example, let's say that I want to change my bed and I don't want to throw it away. I want to save it for another house, my next house. So I will put it in the attic. The attic, sorry. Where can you find the attic in your house? Where can you find the attic in your house? Where are they normally found? And Elodie is right, there is a lot of dust. Normally we don't clean the attic because we don't see it very often. We don't go in the attic. It's there primarily for storage. And Afaf, thank you very much for your contribution. You're exactly right. It's up. We can say in the roof. Christelle, you've written here under the roof, and you are correct. Positionally, it's underneath the roof. But because the roof is part of the house, we normally say it's in the roof because the roof is at the top of the house. But you're absolutely right, it's normally at the top of the house. Okay, my next question is, what are chores? What is a chore? Could you write down a description in the chat for what a chore is? And if you can write any chores, that would be even better. What chores do you do in your house? But first of all, let's answer the question, what are chores? By talking about chores, we can also talk about the different rooms in the house and perhaps even the different items in the house. And I apologize, Afaf, my French is still not very good. You may have translated the word chores there, but I'm unsure. So Christelle has given an example of a chore. Christelle has written here, to do the laundry, for example. Yeah, I find the laundry quite therapeutic. I think it's really nice to have good smelling clothes in your house. So I do like doing the laundry. So Elodie has written down another chore to clean her apartment. More specifically, Elodie removes the dust because she is allergic. And also, dust can contain a lot of small fragments which can be harmful to us, so it's always important to clean. So, working hard at home. Yes, Veronique, I believe you're very close there. A chore is something you need to do to ensure that your house runs smoothly, to ensure it's clean, to ensure that you're able to carry on your life in that house. These are great examples. We need to do the laundry. We need to iron shirts. Fantastic page. We also need to wash the dishes, as we spoke about before. Cooking is a chore. It's something you do in your house is a chore. So hopefully that's clear. And out of interest, what chores do you do? So for me, I love to cook. I think it's really exciting trying different ingredients and creating new recipes. I also like to I do the laundry as I mentioned before. I I don't like doing the washing, but we have to do it. It's a chore. I hoover sometimes. I always clean the surfaces. I make the bed. Sometimes the chores can be very small. So here, Elodie agrees with me. Cooking can be a pleasure. Of course it can. Cleaning the home. Yeah, Afaf, it's a big job cleaning the home, but everyone needs to do it. And hopefully, since everyone's had more time at home, we've been able to do some of these chores that have been here. Cleaning the windows, of course, Veronique, is a really good example. So, I have a couple of other questions here. And now we're going to talk more about items in the house again. And I'm going to give you a description, and I'd like you to give me the item in English. So, this item is a long, soft seat for more than one person. What is it? It's a long, soft seat for more than one person. A long, soft seat for more than one person. Okay, Elodie has guessed a bed. So a bed is not really a place where you can sit down, but it is very long and it's soft. Of course, Elodie, a good guess. And a sofa is perfect, Anya. Yes, a canopy in French, the translation is. So, or a chaise longue. We call it a sofa in English. Sometimes a sofa will also act as a bed. Sometimes there is a sofa or a canopy which you can pull a bed from underneath. If you have this kind of sofa, it has a very easy name. We call it a sofa bed. So it's very simple to remember that one. But a sofa, of course. And Veronique has written here a couch. This is fantastic. I believe that's the American way of saying it, but in England we can say sofa or couch. They're both correct. The next clue I have here, or the next description I have, is a bag filled with something soft, which you put on a chair and sit on it. What is the item? So, a bag filled with something soft, which you put on a chair and sit on it. What is that called? Okay, Paige, you've written there in French we have BZ. I'm not familiar with what a BZ is, but if you could write it in the chat, that would be perfect. So, it's very thank you, Anya and Elodie, for your responses. A pillow is primarily for the bed. If you are in a hotel and you are not comfortable, you will ask for a pillow. We have another name for something that goes on the sofa. But you have the right idea. They are very, very similar because a pillow is more specific for the bed. Normally a pillow is quite long. Okay, long, and it's much thicker to accommodate our heads. So Ania has written down the correct word here. It's a cushion. So a cushion is it can come in different sizes, but it's normally a square shape that we put on the sofa or a chair to provide more comfort. Okay, so we call that a cushion. Thank you very much, Ania. Okay, so I now have some more general questions about homes. We've talked about some of the vocabulary in our homes and we've discussed the different rooms and the different actions which we can do inside them. But now I have more of a general question for you all. So if you could answer in a full sentence, that would be excellent. I noticed that we've talked a lot about vocabulary, so it's been perfectly fine to just write one word, but I always want to challenge you. So if you could write a sentence for me now, that would be excellent. And my question is, do you prefer living in the city or the countryside? And why? So, I think the two pieces of vocabulary which are important in this sentence is city and countryside. So the city, of course, if any of you are living in Paris or Lyon or a densely populated area, that would be a city. Now, there are many advantages for living in a city. There are many supermarkets. You have loads of different shops you can go to. You have loads of different amenities. You have loads of cinemas, places to go to. There are also many different jobs in the city, and it's a very different lifestyle living in a city. On the contrary, if you decide to live in the countryside, you will be in a location where you have lots of freedom. Perhaps it's a less stressful environment. Perhaps you might live close to the sea. Maybe you might live close to a farm. It's a very different way of life. Some people enjoy living in the countryside because they like to go on walks. Maybe where they live could depend on their hobbies. So let's have a look at some of the suggestions in the chat. So Afaf has written here, I prefer living in the city because everything is close. You're absolutely right, Afaf. It's really easy to go shopping, find things for your home. It's very convenient, we can say. Thank you for your contribution. Virginie has written here, I prefer to live in the city because there is a lot of people. Yeah. Another reason why people live in the city is because they're close to their friends and family. More importantly, though, there's an atmosphere in a city. There are loads of people going to work, going to different experiences. There are loads of different exciting things to do. Paige, you prefer living in the countryside, and I think I agree with you. But why do you prefer living in the countryside, Paige? Maybe we have some similar reasons. Elodie has written here, I prefer to live in the countryside for the peace and quiet. I completely agree with you, Elodie, with both your suggestions. Normally, if we talk about quiet and peace, in English, sorry, it's an expression. So we normally say peace and quiet. We never say quiet and peace. So just bear that in mind when you use the two. But I love nature, and my family back home have two dogs. So we always walk in the forest. We walk by the sea, and it's nice to have a nice, relaxed, peaceful, and quiet lifestyle. And it's nice to have a big city close so you can go and be surrounded by loads of people, and you also have all the shops that you need and everything that you like. Okay, Anya prefers to live in a small village near to the city. It sounds lovely, Anya. And yeah, Virginie's written here in the countryside there are more animals than people. That's definitely true, Virginie. Delphine has written here both for people, activities, and for tranquility and nature. Yeah, my dream is to live just outside of the city in nature, and then I would love to commute into the city so I can experience both. I think that's the best of both worlds, the best experience to have. Okay, I want to try and read through the rest of the comments before we finish. There are a couple more. Alina has written here, I prefer living in the city because I like to meet people, to go to concerts or different shows. You're exactly right. As we spoke about before, there are loads of people in a city and it's really nice to meet new people. So, Christelle prefers living in the countryside because it's calm and you can hear the birds singing and you can go for a walk, of course. Okay, so I think we've read through all of the comments. And that brings us to the end of the lesson today. I would like to apologize quickly again for the difficulties at the start of the lesson. Unfortunately, it is out of our control, and I do feel sorry for you. Fortunately, we were able to resolve the issue, and hopefully, it won't happen again. But thank you for your patience, and also thank you for your contribution in the lesson today. If I just scroll up on the chat, you've written so much, and it's really great to see you practice your English and to write sentences. And I can really see some of you starting to improve. It's really nice to have a lesson every day so you can practice. I hope you all have a fantastic afternoon. Good luck in your days, in your work, in your jobs. Have a lovely evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.